we put that together to create a pitch to do season 2, because we've been trying to figure out a way to do season 2. We didn't want to do it in the same way we did it before. But anyway, so My Last Days was...
Good morning, everyone, and happy Thursday, February 19th, 2026. Here's everything you need to know for your rush hour commute. We're starting with the ongoing legal battle between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. More legal analysts are weighing in on what leverage, if any, Lively actually has as the case moves forward. While fans tend to take strong sides, the reality is that unless there's a settlement, this is headed toward trial, and in a courtroom, anything can happen. One attorney, Alex, explained that Lively may hold leverage simply because she still has active claims in the case, while Baldoni's claims have reportedly been dismissed. Even if critics believe her claims are weak, the fact that they exist forces Baldoni to continue spending significant amounts on legal fees, potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars. Beyond the financial burden, there's also reputational risk. A trial could introduce new testimony or evidence that hasn't yet been made public. From that perspective, Baldoni may have more to lose reputationally, while Lively's public image has already taken substantial hits online. On the other hand, some commentators argue that if Lively's team had stronger damaging evidence, it likely would have surfaced already in pre-trial filings. In high-profile cases, legal strategy often overlaps with public relations. If there were explosive details available, critics say they would have been introduced earlier to shape public perception before trial or to strengthen settlement leverage. Others point to what they describe as strong motions filed by Baldoni's side, arguing that Lively's responses have appeared comparatively weak and that holding back major evidence would make little strategic sense if there's a risk the case doesn't even reach trial. The bottom line is that trials are unpredictable. Jury perception, witness performance, admissible evidence, and courtroom dynamics all matter. Even cases that seem like slam dunks can take unexpected turns. In other developments, there's an update involving Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy Guthrie, as the situation approaches the 3-week mark. Meanwhile, additional files connected to Jeffrey Epstein have reportedly been released, prompting renewed discussion about alleged co-conspirators and how officials are handling the fallout. And finally, questions are being raised about rising tensions with Iran, with past claims that nuclear capabilities had been dismantled. Many are now asking why talk of potential conflict is resurfacing and what the broader geopolitical implications could be. Plenty to unpack as these stories continue to develop. Critics of Blake Lively argue that her team has already presented its strongest evidence and that it hasn't landed the way they'd hoped. According to that line of thinking, depositions from key witnesses, including colleagues and staff, didn't appear especially strong, with some accounts reportedly conflicting, even about specific incidents like the trailer entry situation. Detractors claim that if there were truly damaging revelations still waiting in the wings, they likely would have surfaced by now in filings or pre-trial maneuvering. That's why some believe the case isn't trending in Lively's favor. Still, the broader question remains whether a settlement is possible. Any agreement would require both Lively and Justin Baldoni to sign off. From a reputational standpoint, some commentators argue Lively has less to lose publicly at this stage, while Baldoni's future career could hinge on how decisively he prevails, particularly if a court were to reject harassment allegations outright. Until there's either a ruling or a settlement, observers will keep dissecting filings, testimony, and even text messages as they surface. Shifting to another developing story, the search for Nancy Guthrie has reportedly expanded beyond U.S. borders. According to reports, the FBI has contacted Mexican federal authorities and asked local agencies to be on alert amid concerns she could have been taken across the border into Mexico. However, investigators have also indicated that border surveillance and related checks have not shown confirmed movement consistent with that theory so far. As the case stretches toward the 3-week mark, there's still no confirmed resolution, and many are hoping for positive news. Meanwhile, renewed attention is being placed on materials connected to Jeffrey Epstein. Reports are circulating that in 2020, media outlets including Fox News and ABC News were allegedly approached with potentially explosive materials said to have come from a former employee at Epstein's Manhattan residence, according to the claims. The material was verified in some capacity but not fully aired, with suggestions that editorial or legal concerns played a role. The alleged outreach reportedly occurred in August 2020, during a heated presidential election cycle. As with many aspects of the Epstein case, claims and counterclaims continue to circulate, and not all allegations have been independently confirmed. The broader issue of what media organizations knew, what they verified, and why certain materials were or were not published remains a subject of debate. These stories are still unfolding, and as new filings, statements, or official confirmations emerge, they'll likely reshape the public conversation. Yet again, they actually said that it swung 8 points back in Kamala's direction. So by that I mean because of all this information that's come out because of the tariffs and where the world is, and all of the deportations and things like that, It was an 8-point swing back to Kamala. She would have won the election if folks knew this is going to be the result of what they voted for. Sadly, we can't turn back the clock, but that's where we're at now. How about this? We have an update with regards to the FCC. The Fox News Kyron reads latest Dem hoax at the same time that Brendan Carr confirms that yes, the FCC would have enforced the law and gone after CBS had Colbert aired his interview with Tarico on TV. So if you guys haven't been following, Tellerico was banned from going on TV because of the enforcement of a law that used to not be enforced, with late-night talk show hosts. And because of that, Jasmine Crockett, who's running against James Tellerico, and others claim that, James Tellerico was making this up. They were doing this, for publicity, which again was not the case. Have a listen. And the equal time rule at its core is about stopping legacy media from picking winners and losers in elections. It's so that the American people can decide, and perhaps Colbert and other establishment. Democrats want to put the thumb on the scale in this Democrat primary for one candidate over the other. I don't know. You'll have to ask them, but we're going to enforce the law and hold broadcasters accountable. So there it is. And listen, the Stisen effect did work. James Tarico raised millions of dollars after this stunt, and he got a lot of exposure. He's in most of the polling I'm seeing, leading by the comfortable amount as in the primary for the Senate seat in Texas. He's in the Democratic primary against Jasmine Crockett, and they're both young stars in the Democratic world, and we'll have to see how it all plays out, but voting is open there in Texas. We've got more J.D. Vance contradicting himself here. He talks about not wanting Iran to get a nuclear weapon. But didn't they just say that Iran's nuclear capabilities were destroyed? Which one is it? Well, I'm obviously not going to make any announcements today. I think the president has a lot of options. We do have a very powerful military. The president's shown a willingness to use it. He also has a remarkable diplomatic team. He's shown a willingness to use that, too. And so what the president has been very clear with the Iranians, and actually I just talked to Steve Woodruff and Jared Kushner this morning about some of their negotiations, is the United States has certain red lines. Our primary interest here is we don't want Iran to get a nuclear weapon. We don't want nuclear proliferation if Iran gets a nuclear weapon. There are a lot of other regimes, some friendly, some not so friendly. So are they going to Amazon Prime a nuclear weapon? I thought just over the summer, June 25th, Iran's nuclear facilities have been obliterated, and suggestions otherwise are fake news. This coming from the White House. So I guess they weren't obliterated, right? And of course we knew they were. Knew that what actually happened was because the US bombed Iran's nuclear facilities. They really forced them to actually get a nuclear weapon faster, knowing that diplomatic solutions weren't going to be the answer. The only reason we're in this situation is because Donald Trump took us out of the Iran nuclear deal in the first place. Alright, so here we have our good pals Thomas Massie and Roan. Right, they're just opposite sides of the political spectrum coming together to expose the Epstein files, and also they're saying, look, we're going to need you to ask Congress before you take us into a war. Rona says Trump officials say there's a 90% chance of strikes on Iran. He can't without Congress. Thomas Massie says Congress must vote on war according to our Constitution. So there it is. You've got the president who claims to be is about peace, ready to take us into a war that we're not asking for. How about that, folks? Let's go to Kool-Aid Caroline Levitt and see what she has to say about how the economy is doing. The president has managed to utilize powerful tariffs to secure trillions of dollars in investments into our country and rebalance our trade deals while simultaneously cooling inflation. So Caroline Levitt is trying to tell us that tariffs actually lowered inflation. We know tariffs are in fact inflationary. 94% of the costs that come for importers when they pay the tariffs are passed down to consumers. American households in 2025 spent a collective $1,000 extra per household because of tariffs. I think inflation was already coming down at the end of Biden's term, and now they're taking credit for that while they're actually making inflation come down slower because of the tariffs that literally nobody asked for and nobody voted for. But what's really interesting is them saying the trillions of dollars of infrastructure investments that are coming in. New data during Trump's first year. The manufacturing industry lost 108,000 jobs. The tariffs have been an utter failure. They have not brought any odd jobs back to the United States. In fact, it's the opposite. Power Trump's tariffs as another US aluminum smelter shuts. That's right. More companies are actually shutting down. We see, big Dyson factories leaving states. So many issues are out there right now. Tariffs did not solve any of them. They just didn't. And that's a fact. The only thing tariffs have done is provided an additional tax on the American citizen, but they don't care. They're rich. Alright, coming up next, bombshell updates in the Epstein files. It's absolutely wild what's being hidden from us. And we're going to get to this after a quick word from our sponsor. The new year is here. Get back into an at-home routine you love and elevate your space with Wayfair. From bedding and mattresses to storage solutions for every room in the house, Wayfair is your one-stop shop. Wayfair's huge selection of home decor items make it easy to find exactly what's right for you. We just upgraded our primary bed and bath with new bedding, fresh towels, and pillows galore. Look, my stance on pillows is this. If my wife demands new throw pillows, at least I'm getting them at an affordable price. With a toddler running around, we also decided to get a non-slip microfiber rug for the bathroom. I was so impressed with the search tools on Wayfair. Size, shape, color, pile, height, you got options. Don't believe me? Go see for yourself and thank me later. So get organized, refresh, and back on track this new year for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's wayfir.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Well, Ted Lowe isn't afraid to tell us what he thinks about the Epstein files. Here's what he said yesterday. We have a response from the Department of Justice, and then he responds to them. So, why are our Republicans so interested in Bill Hillary Clinton? It's because they're trying to distract from the fact that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files thousands and thousands of times. In those files, there's highly disturbing allegations of Donald Trump raping children. Now, those are allegations, and you would think that the Department of Justice would be investigating those and, if there were no truths to them, they would provide the, lack of evidence and all of that. But instead, they haven't done that. They've tried to hide all these files. There's been a sharp back and forth between Representative Ted Lieu and the Department of Justice over how materials connected to Jeffrey Epstein are being handled. The DOJ's rapid response account pushed back on claims that credible allegations were being ignored, stating that certain accusations had zero credibility and that unredacted materials were available in secure settings. Lieu responded by pointing to documents he says reference witnesses who made direct claims that, in his view, warranted deeper follow-up. He questioned why certain redactions were made and whether all relevant witnesses had been interviewed. It's important to separate a few things here. Allegations contained in raw investigative files are not the same as substantiated findings. Law enforcement agencies routinely redact materials for legal reasons that can include protecting victims, preserving due process rights, or safeguarding ongoing investigations. At the same time, members of Congress are within their authority to question whether agencies have been thorough and transparent. Disputes like this often become public when there's mistrust about how much information is being disclosed and how accessible it truly is. Some lawmakers, including Anna Paulina Luna, have said additional names and potential associates should be scrutinized further. Others argue that claims of a broader cover-up require clear evidence before being treated as fact. Because of the scale of the Epstein investigation spanning years, multiple jurisdictions, and thousands of documents reviewing and releasing records is inherently complex. There's also broader frustration in the political climate about accountability and institutional independence. The Department of Justice is structured to operate independently of the White House, though critics across party lines often debate how independent it truly is in practice. That tension isn't new. It surfaces under administrations of both parties. When it comes to allegations involving high-profile figures including Donald Trump, it's especially critical to distinguish between accusations, investigative leads, and proven wrongdoing. Serious claims require serious evidence, and conclusions ultimately depend on documented findings tested through legal processes. On the political front, lawmakers like Thomas Massie have, at times, broke in with their own party on oversight or constitutional questions, underscoring how divisions don't always fall neatly along partisan lines. Debates over executive authority, congressional oversight, tariffs, and foreign policy all feed into the broader dissatisfaction many voters feel. As for the idea of a global MAGA movement, that's more a political framing than a measurable geopolitical category. Populist and nationalist movements have gained traction in various countries over the past decade, but each operates within its own local political context. These are complicated, high-stakes issues. Criminal justice, government transparency, separation of powers, and electoral politics all intersect here. Strong opinions are everywhere, but lasting conclusions depend on verified evidence, lawful process, and institutional accountability rather than speculation alone. Wait, what's going on with that guy's foot at parties? Are we really witnessing a global MAGA movement? It feels like the rest of the world is laughing at us. Every day the comment sections blow up. How are people in your country just letting this happen? But here's the truth, most of us aren't. Historically, the United States hasn't done a great job with voting. Turnout isn't high. Election day isn't a federal holiday, and it can be hard and inconvenient to vote. There are many reasons why people haven't voted in the past. So while Trump may have received more votes than Mr. Harris, he didn't get more than 50% of the total. He didn't win an outright majority. More than half the country did not choose him. And as I mentioned earlier, recent polls suggest that if a new election were held today, Kamala Harris would be ahead by 8 points. Whether you like her or not, that's what the polls are showing. Some people who voted for Trump now say they would choose Harris instead. Many supporters thought they were voting for strict immigration enforcement focused only on violent criminals, not situations involving people with sick children or families seeking asylum. They didn't expect ICE agents operating in their own communities. Masked and confrontational, leading to injuries and deaths that weren't what anyone signed up for. I'm proud to stand on the side of history that resists the insanity out there, not on my watch, not if I can help it. I appreciate you being here with me. We'll be back in the afternoon. We're here twice a day every day. I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.